Hello, everyone. This is Elijah Blackman. It's been quite a while since I recorded. It was about 8 months or so. But today we're going to be looking at the heat coming tomorrow in the Pacific Northwest and the storm track that's probably going to come in and the La Nina that is developing right now in the ocean, the Pacific Ocean. So let's get started with the infrared satellite here. We got the storm that's going to barrel in to Haida Gwaii, central north coast, early to mid this week. This is going to bring some rain and unsettled weather there. And here we go. Here's the upper air pattern. So this is the air pattern at 500 millibars in the sky. So you see these red colors developing here over northern Canada, Alberta, and BC. This is going to bring us some east winds with warmer than normal temperatures. Let me show you. Here's the temperature map. Here's the high resolution HRRR model. So if we scroll out here, you can see these temperatures start to warm up here Tuesday morning. And you can see that things really get pretty warm here. 33, 34 around Seattle, 32, 33 Fraser Valley, 31 there in Maple Ridge, upper 20s on the Sunshine Coast there. And you can see these darker red brownish colors are those east winds really helping with the downslope here. You can see that downsloping winds are going to increase the warmth, especially if you're near the Cascades. Let me show you why. If we scroll here, these are 10-meter wind gusts, so winds above 10 meters or so. And if you see here, right there, middle of the day on Tuesday, you can see those winds ramping up in the Cascades. These are going to be easterly winds. They're going to come off the mountains, and you're going to get some downsloping around here, and that's where the pressure increases, and that causes the temperature to rise with the friction in the air. So that's why we're going to get pretty warm. It's going to be ridgy, sunny, and we're going to get that downsloping winds, which is going to give us some warm temperatures for today and today only. Tomorrow and tomorrow only, sorry. Here's a look at the upper air pattern, but in a wider view. And we're going to scroll a bit further here. They got that ridge forming there today and Tuesday. Rob comes near central BC there, the coast, Haida Gwaii and north. We're going to get that rain there. And then you can see this Gulf of Alaska trough coming down, swinging down. See where the jet stream would be right there, just be barreling right back into the Pacific Northwest. That would bring some unsettled weather and fall-like conditions. You can see if we keep scrolling, it's just showing up that it's just going to keep going according to this map. So if we look here at the multi-parameters, so this is thickness bars. We got the thickness bars in the atmosphere, 546 there. We got the rain. It shows the rain. It shows the pressure as well. It shows that rain. This is rain. This is the green. The green is rain, the blue is snow. If you see here, through Tuesday evening, this system will bring some very unsettled weather up to the Gulf of Alaska, the coast there, the BC coast, and Alaska there. You can see those blues. Some snow showing up there even. And then you can see that little line of showers trying to reach the Pacific Northwest down here, but it does break down. And then you see this. You see this thing start to move in here more Saturday morning. This is Saturday morning right here, Saturday evening, Sunday night, and you can see that rain there, and you can see more rain, lots of rain showing up on this run. You can see that unsettled weather showing up, and we'll just take a look at that. How wet would that be? That is a lot of precipitation. You can see right there showing quite the douse of rain here. Like, that would really help us with that precipitation deficit that we're in with those fires. It would really help us to get out of this right now. Let's take a look at the GFS as well. You can see that trough breaking down. And then we have this one coming in at around the same time. Good model agreement right now between the HRRR and the GFS. This would bring quite the boundary here, quite the atmospheric river boundary. And then you can see those troughs just continue to spin in right there. And then we'll take the Euro Ensemble mean here. This is 50 different members of the Euro Ensemble all put together and averaging out. Tomorrow, extremely good consensus for that ridge. Of course, it's only a day out. Transient ridge builds again. And then you can see that very good agreement for that trough to build in. Ridge might try to build in a little bit here, but it will move out, it looks like. And then very good agreement for that trough to come in and bring us some good rainy weather. Now, if you look at Abbotsford Airport in the Fraser Valley, east of Vancouver, just east of Vancouver here, you can see these totals as we get into Sunday, Monday next week. You can see that system looks good to bring some rain. And then you can see it continue, especially through the weekend after. There's a good consensus during the week and the weekend after that will get very active here. A fall-like pattern looks to develop. Anything past 250 hours or 10 days, even in an ensemble, can change, but it is fall, and I like this look personally. I really do. Here's Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Lower amounts showing, but it's still a very good signal right now that will get active here in the Pacific Northwest in about a week. So here, let's move on to the ENSO update. So this was updated, I believe, on the 11th of September, a few days ago. You can see August, September, October. We have an equal chance for La Nina and ENSO neutral. September, October, November, it's up to 70%. And then we get to up to 74% or so, 71% through the early winter. And then once we get into December, January, February, it becomes more of a 50-ish% chance. So what we're looking at is La Nina is likely to develop, especially mid-late fall, early winter, midwinter, and then once we get into later winter, it might break down in towards ENSO neutral once again. And you can see El Nino is trying to pop out just a little bit here in the next summer, but way too far out. So here's a typical La Nina pattern. La Nina patterns tend to like a big ridge of high pressure in the North Pacific. Usually what that means is it creates the jet stream to go northward in the Pacific and then start diving southward. This would favor central and western North America in some instances have a higher chance at colder spells of weather with that jet stream dipping. And then this really does like to encourage more rainfall across BC and Northern California, Washington, Oregon there, with also an active storm track near Ontario there. Why? Once again, the ridge helps to bring that blocking pattern here. It brings the jet stream northward and then down across the North America. Depending on how this develops, we could have higher chances of Arctic spells here, but really, La Ninas like to bring good active weather for Ontario as well. Very good for snow in Ontario. Usually it does bring more of a southeast ridge down here, but it can still deliver. Depends how it works out. It's just what usually likes to happen during La Ninas. So here we're going to actually look at something else here. This is the North Pacific. These are sea surface temperature anomalies here. So if we look here, we have some very warm waters across the Northeast Pacific, as well as some quite warm, very warm across here, off of East Asia. So what does that do? Usually that would intensify storms that come through here. And I've done a bit of research that these can intensify the ridge up here in the North Pacific. So we'll see how that changes things. I'm not confident what it will do. It might make it harder to get snow. It might make it easier in some ways with more cyclogenesis if Arctic air gets down. But it might make things a bit warmer for North America this winter. We'll see how this evolves over the next few months. Then finally, La Nina. We scroll back to the middle of August here. We had this starting to see that upwelling here. As we keep scrolling into September, we're now looking pretty good for that La Nina to develop. You can see that upwelling here. We got it stretching out all the way closer to Australia. We got that La Nina developing. And Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. I like that look. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I've not done this in a while, but I hope to do this at least a couple times a week just for fun, to see how it goes. Yeah. Cheers.